You're a psychopath.
No. Psychopath kills for no reason. I kill for money. It's a job. That didn't sound right. Morning.
Sometimes a film just clicks. Cast, writing, rhythm. It's tricky to pin down why a movie speaks to you over another. But there you are, hitting the play button to watch it once again. What is it, 5, 10 times now? It's comfort viewing, pure and simple. For me, that film has always been Grosse Pointe Blank. Released in 1997 with modest box office returns, Grosse Pointe Blank tells the story of professional assassin Martin Blank, played with malevolent charm by John Cusack. He's sent on a mission to a quiet Detroit suburb, Grosse Pointe, where by coincidence, his 10-year high school reunion is about to take place. Its quirky, action comedy setup belies a deeper character study about identity, the seductive power of nostalgia, and the messy realities of emotional growth.
You're a fucking psycho.
Don't rush to judgment on something like that until all the facts are in.
Often overlooked compared to its 90s contemporaries, Grosse Pointe Blank is one of the sharpest dark comedies of the decade.
I'm hurt, I'm pissed, gotta find a new job.
Let's talk about Martin.
So, is there a Mrs. Mysterio?
No, but I have a very nice cat.
Not the same.
But you don't know my cat. It's very demanding.
It? You don't know if it's a boy or a girl?
I respect its privacy.
The opening scene perfectly establishes Martin's psyche. While carrying out a hit, he casually takes a call from his assistant Marcella, played by game Joan Cusack. The juxtaposition of violence with the mundane logistics of his job reflects how effortlessly he compartmentalizes his life. But cracks are beginning to show. On his next job, a mistake forces him to kill his target up close.
Whatever it is I'm doing that you don't like, I'll stop doing it.
It's not me.
It's not me becomes a refrain throughout the film. Martin continually distances himself from his actions. He's phoning it in, professionally and emotionally. As an adult in his late 30s, this is probably where I start to relate to Martin in an entirely different way to when I first saw this film at 17. Moving through life on autopilot, disassociating from your choices, trying to find meaning, it can be disorientating in ways we don't always understand or have the skills to deal with. In an ironically healthy move, he visits with his unwilling psychiatrist, played by suitably flustered Alan Arkin, who's more concerned with survival than therapy.
You didn't tell me what you did for a living for 4 sessions. Then you told me. And I said, I don't want to work with you. And yet you come back every week at the same time.
Martin's dark charm and sarcasm mask his inner emptiness as he jokes about going to his upcoming reunion.
They'll all have husbands and wives and children and houses and dogs and, they'll have made themselves a part of something and they can talk about what they do. And what am I going to say? I killed the president of Paraguay with a fork. How have you been?
And we start to understand why the psychiatrist wants him gone.
But I don't want to be withholding. I'm very serious about this process.
And I know where you live.
Oh, now see, that wasn't a nice thing to say. That wasn't designed to make me feel good.
This violence with a smile highlights both his easy charm and obvious potential for brutality. In the end, the psychiatrist's determination to get rid of him allows for Martin to finally head off to Detroit to complete a so-called intractable hit, whilst also maybe dropping in on an old flame before his high school reunion. Themes like identity and morality come alive through Grosse Pointe Blank's characters. They aren't just quirky personalities, they're mirrors, distortions, or challenges to Martin himself. Grosse, played by Dan Aykroyd, is pure id, a manic capitalist who wants to unionize contract killing. This absurd idea helps to further cement the normality of their work, even using everyday corporate terminology.
Look, the employers are getting us a lot cheaper because there's so many more of us.
Well, after the Berlin thing, what can you do?
Soviet bloc collapse.
The market's flooded.
Okay, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at consolidated bargaining, okay?
Martin, who barely accepts his own actions, finds this repulsive. Grosse is what Martin fears becoming. Shameless, greedy, unmoored. To quote Groucho Marx, I wouldn't want to belong to a club that would have me as a member.
This union, is there going to be meetings?
Of course.
No meetings.
Although playing the one that got away, Minnie Driver's Debbie Newberry offers more than a simple love interest, as she consistently challenges Martin's narrative, demanding honesty and accountability.
How could you possibly join the army?
It's something I felt like I had to do. It's hard to explain. I mean, I know it doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense. Do you know how much time I spent on this masochistic cycle just trying to figure out what I'd done to drive you away?
Nothing.
Yeah, well, you tell me that now. It's a little late.
Their chemistry is undeniable, but their reunion is messy.
Oh, I know. Welcome home.
She represents the life Martin could have had, and her refusal to romanticize the past is the film's moral compass.
I'm getting a Black Cat Friday the 13th kind of feeling about this one.
Marcella, on the other hand, is an enabler. She's loyal, sarcastic, might be a Beatles fan,
Look, Sergeant Pepper, I really need you to shut up about that.
but further represents the bureaucratization of violence, an executive assistant for a hitman, effectively mocking how much business and violence have merged.
3,000 rounds of 9mm subsonic. You had that. I gave that to you on the fucking list.
Then finally, there's also the supporting characters, from estranged classmates to his dementia-stricken mother to bumbling NSA agents. Every character serves as a warped reflection, nudging Martin towards self-awareness.
Fallsburg account in real estate. What do you do, Martin?
When the school reunion finally arrives, it's more than a gimmick. Beneath the fluorescent lighting and 80s nostalgia, it's time for a reckoning. Martin must confront everything he has abandoned, lost love, former friends, and paths not taken. Everyone else at the reunion has aged into conventional adult roles, for better and for worse. And Martin stands apart as he's rejected this path, but it hasn't brought him peace either. The reunion provides Martin and Debbie a do-over for their ill-fated prom night, allowing them to play out their unresolved relationship as their past selves. Their arc, banter, confrontation, tentative reconciliation, mirrors the broader reunion theme: growth, or the lack thereof. But the sentimentality can't last forever, as a reunion becomes the unlikely setting for both emotional healing and a violent showdown, underscoring how Martin's inner conflict has external consequences. The reunion is not just a silly plot device, it's the crucible in which Martin is forced to choose between continuing his life of detachment or starting over.
It's not me. It wasn't me.
During its runtime, Grosse Pointe Blank walks a tonal tightrope, acting as a rom-com, comedy action thriller, and coming-of-age story. But instead of diluting each one in turn, he uses them to subvert audiences' expectations. Martin isn't a muscle-bound action hero. He's neurotic and conflicted about the violence he makes a living from. The action scenes aren't overly stylized, normally being chaotic and at times cartoonish, or surprisingly intimate and hard-hitting, often undercutting Hollywood's glorification of violence found in most 90s action films at the time. And whilst the rom-com elements follow the traditional bread-and-butter approach of a man trying to rekindle a lost love, the central obstacle isn't a misunderstanding, it's Martin's career as a killer.
How come you never learned that it was wrong? That there are certain things you do not do. You do not do in a civilized society.
What civilizations are we talking about?
Oh, shut up.
I mean, history.
Shut up.
Debbie's reactions are grounded in moral realism, not sitcom tropes.
Everything about you is the lie.
After opening up to Debbie,
You're overreacting.
Yeah.
he finally makes his choice. The climax of Grosse Pointe Blank is chaotic, violent, and darkly funny, just like Martin.
I was hired to kill you, but I'm not gonna do it. Either because I'm in love with your daughter or I have a newfound respect for life.
Grosse arrives guns blazing, not just to eliminate the unsuspecting target, who in a cruel twist is Debbie's father, but to take Martin out as well. Suddenly Martin's entire life is on the line. His past, present, and potential future collide in that house. There's no script, no handler, no ironic detachment to shield him.
I was sitting there alone on prom night in that goddamn rented tuxedo, and the whole night flashed before my eyes. And I realized finally, and for the first time,
I wanted to kill somebody. So I figured since I loved you so much, it'd be a good idea if I didn't see you anymore.
As bullets fly, Martin isn't just defending himself. He's defending who he's trying to become. And in classic Grosse Pointe fashion, the confrontation ends not with some sleek action move, but with Acme-like violence.
Popcorn!
Then comes the moment that recenters everything.
I want you to think about this, and you don't have to answer it now. But Debbie, will you marry me?
It's sincere, awkward.
You got my blessing.
Completely unhinged. Debbie's response isn't some tidy Hollywood reconciliation. She doesn't forgive him in a conventional sense, but her decision to leave with him shows trust in his change.
Some people say forgive and forget. Yeah, I don't know. I say forget about forgiving, just accept. And get the hell out of town.
In the end, Martin doesn't just survive the shootout, he chooses to live differently. Grosse Pointe Blank earns its messy catharsis because, like its protagonist, it stops hiding behind the joke and finally says what it means. In 1997, Grosse Pointe Blank shared a release year with Titanic, Men in Black, and Good Will Hunting. It was a strange little film, a morally grey rom-com with a body count. But it captured the cultural unease of the late 90s. Martin was the Gen X anti-hero, skeptical of everything, emotionally frozen, and desperate for something real. Even as a millennial with a world-changing event seemingly happening every other week now, there's something to the disillusioned hitman searching for a simpler time that speaks to me as an adult in an increasingly complex world. That dangerous, seductive pull of nostalgia, always lurking, always tempting us to retreat instead of grow, still haunting us.
It's just smart shower with my foot up your ass.
Do you really believe that there's some stored up conflict that exists between us? There is no us. We don't exist. So who do you want to hit, man? It's not me.
There's something about Martin's journey. His struggle with identity, his chaotic search for meaning that feels oddly familiar. It's not a movie that tells you how to live, but one that reminds you it's okay to not have it all figured out.
I know you're doing.
Sometimes you don't need a neat ending.
Let this gun work.
Just the space to realize that you can keep moving forward, even with all the baggage.
You're a handsome devil. What's your name?
I've been your narrator, and this was a film you forgot. If Grosse Pointe Blank is one of those films you think the world's forgotten, you're not alone. Drop a comment and tell me what other movies deserve a second look.